the community takes a different approach to that. Something that's phased rather than a full meal deal from the get go. I just don't know how that conversation's what that process is going to look like for that in particular.
Well, and just a perspective, one of the things that I talked about years ago that I think is really relevant now is the fact that now that OMEC and PCC are a part of the Scappoose community, I had really talked about the idea of reaching out to Portland Community College and seeing if they could partner with us on some of the things with Chapman Landing, which I think they would be open to if, we had a solid agenda and a solid plan and, some different things that we want to get accomplished. I mean, even simple things like signage, picnic tables, those kinds of things. I think it's not a big ask to go to PCC and ask them to participate in that. But honestly, before I think we do that, I think we have to deal with these safety issues.
And JJ, I know you've mentioned or raised the question before, either in the committee or to me, in terms of fundraising for stuff like that. I know the last time we discussed that was probably a couple of years ago.
Mm-hmm.
But this is an example where when there is a solid plan that you can attach a dollar amount to it and with a reasonable degree of accuracy, and then say, hey, this is what we're looking to do here, it makes that fundraising argument much clearer. I mean, similar to what the school district just did with the turf field. So
yeah, no, that's absolutely correct. And and so if you update that master plan, and I think just really revisiting what needs to happen with it for people to use it safely and also to get the best use out of it. We do have that opportunity because I've talked with the Audubon Society about participating and putting up signage and other other things for bird watching and restoration, which they've done extensively on Sovies Island. So there are plenty of opportunities for that. But having that new master plan in place is going to give us leverage to do those kind of things, and I'd be very happy to work on the fundraising end of that.
Thanks, JJ. A comment about signage. I did have signage on the Vista, but I didn't. There were several several signage options on the living document that I didn't transfer over because we are working on kind of like a global signage plan. So unless there was anything like a really specific sign that we knew we absolutely needed, no matter what, like our global signage plan looked like, I wasn't planning to add signage to this amenities list that we were sending to the.
No, I appreciate that. I guess I'm just referring to the Butteville park that I had referenced a few months ago that is extremely similar to Chapman Landing, that does have historical signage talking about the use of that site, which really provides some perspective. And interestingly enough, when we talk about the pads, I was actually thinking if there's some way that we could utilize those pads, you could actually have one wall of just signage talking about the history of Chapman Landing and the history of Scappoose as a waterway, transporting materials to the city itself. That could be, useful and relevant, as well as signage regarding the wildlife and bird watching opportunities that you have there.
Yeah, I think that kind of signage, like specifically interpretive signage, working with Scappoose Bay Watershed Council to get to have them share their knowledge on what signage would go well in each park. Those are definitely long-term goals I think we need to be looking at.
Okay.
The only thing I would add about Chapman Landing is, I guess, the concern that from our crews that we noticed is just the amount of vandalism out there.
Yes.
That bench, I know that bench is relatively new. There was a donation at some point in the last couple of years, but the benches certainly take a beating out there. And so the other thing to think about is just how to, what's a strategy for finding something that wouldn't say vandalism proof because there's no such thing, but something that's going to hold up testament of time and handles a little bit better.
Well, I have just a couple quick comments on that. And if I'm offline, just tell me, guys. But I know that, one of the things that was discussed regarding helping that with Chapman Landing is that somebody would be able to actually live there like they do at Prescott Beach, where you'd set up a camp, a RV site for a retired person to be there. I don't know if that's still, if you've got the space for that. But the other question that I have for you, Huell, is that because that is annexed to the city of Scappoose, did the Scappoose police actually, are they able to actually deal with crime in that area, or is it still a county issue?
Yes, yeah, I believe is our police that will respond there. But again, I'd have to get back to you on the specifics. I remember that conversation happening, but it's been so long that
It's been so long.
I couldn't tell you with certainty off the top of my head.
Right. And I mean, I know that the other thing that'd be great is somehow to get electricity out there and put some security cameras out there. That's always a great deterrent to vandalism.
On the other hand, it's security cameras will tell you that something has happened, but they don't necessarily stop it. It'll be a challenge. It is at the periphery of the city, but as more people use Chapman Landing, hopefully that sort of activity will decline.
Okay.
So that's the hope.
I do recall the park, the original concept around Chapman Landing involved, I believe, acquiring some neighboring land. That was the original discussion, and then potentially having campsites. So I think that was in the very, very early stages of discussion where we had thought of maybe a park host. So that was where.
Actually, no, there was never discussion of actually having campsites there. It was really more about we really talked about it to address the issue of vandalism, which was more prevalent back then.
Okay. So I would say for this list, I would like we could have everybody. I'll send out this list. I'll update it with some of the discussion that we've had tonight. What I would love is for if people have specific ideas around the parks that we have there, like where they think a picnic bench would be ideal, where they think a regular bench would be ideal, what kind of viewpoints that they see. If they've noticed that a trash can would be helpful, if they've noticed that like a doggy pickup station would be helpful. I would like you to email me over the next month so that I can add it to the document and we can review it. And the next meeting, the plan would be that we vote on it and then submit it to council.
I have a quick question on the amenities list.
Yes.
I reviewed the 2017 Parks Master Plan. It's just great reading. And there is Fisher Park on that plan. And Fisher Park is north of the city. And it's supposedly we own that property, but we don't. No?
We don't. And actually, it's interesting you bring this up because I remember this conversation coming up the first time we started discussing this over 2 years ago.
Okay.
And
Sorry.
Fisher, no, that's okay. That's not your fault. Fisher Park is not owned by the county. Or not owned by the city. I believe it's owned by the county. I don't know why it's in that master plan, but it's not ours. It's not even in the UGB either. So again, I know the county does operate an RV park up there. I'm not too familiar with it, but yeah.
So I drove up there. Full note, since we're talking about parks that are outside of city limits, there is indeed a little playground at the RV park. Additionally, up in that area is a wildlife area owned by Santosh Wildlife Area. It's owned by the Cal Portland up there as a plant. So we're working with them to kind of work on some messaging in that area. Regarding the master plan too, all of the field areas in the high schools were also included in the parks master plan as accessible space. I would caution and mention that that will probably change because some of those are not actually publicly. So I think we're going to see a lot of shifts on various parts of the master plan.
And then I do have just one other quick comment that I was thinking about while you guys were discussing Chapman Landing, and that is the idea, if we do talk about signage for Chapman Landing, perhaps having signage talking about reporting vandalism. So like at the Columbia County Parks, they have signs, saying no vandalism, please don't dump your trash here, and numbers to call, and maybe even consider reaching out to fans of that park to maybe do kind of a neighborhood watch or, just be out there to look out for problems.
Yeah.
JJ, it sounds like you're the first volunteer.
Well, I think I mean, people are really excited about it, and I can certainly bring in the next meeting or send pictures of what Columbia County does. With Columbia County, their issue is just people dumping, couches and all kinds of refuge at the various outlying parks. So that's not really the issue with Chapman Landing or Crown Zellerback, but that is certainly one way to get people more involved about the area and take ownership with it.
I mean, we're about to have a cleanup there where at least 50 people will be able to be there. I mean, maybe if we were considering writing information about like, hey, we want to keep this area up and prevent vandalism, like share your ideas, or here's a number you can contact if you see something going on.
Yeah, and certainly, yeah. I mean, it just like the issue we had with vandalism in the parks, in the last several months ago. Yeah, if anyone sees vandalism, please call the Columbia County non-emergency dispatch, and again, we can provide that number as well. But again, they will take those reports, and that helps them know because this is a small community. There aren't many sheriff's deputies, and we have a small police staff as well. So any eyes and ears out in the community are helpful.
Yeah, because there's also laws against doing that. So I mean, posting what the fines are for doing those things is just, it makes people aware that people care, and so it's just really kind of having that kind of campaign. But I can work on that and talk about it the next time we get it on the agenda.
Okay, yeah, I think that would be great. I think having some information at the cleanup, where people could, choose to get involved, or at least have like information on what to do or who to call, I think would be ideal because we'll have a larger audience at that location.
Okay, yeah, I can work on that.
Perfect. Thank you, JJ.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. That is. Oh, any questions on the amenities or the plans for next meeting? Perfect. It'd be helpful if everyone could have a chance to go out to the parks and reply to me with feedback on where they think these items should go. I think the more detail we can offer the city, the better. So yeah, that's it. That's all I have for tonight. Everyone have a good night.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, yeah.
It's the showers every day. Hoping it's just like